Hi and welcome. We're starting today with Bhagavad Gita chapter 16. And thank you for being here. So chapter 16 is called The Divine and Demonic Natures. And it's going to be a very interesting chapter. It's going to deal with topics that will be controversial. And I'd love to have your opinion as we go along. I'd love to know what you think about what we're reading. So feel free to ask questions. Feel free to step in and let me know your thoughts. But do raise your hand first so that I can keep it sort of a little organized. So thanks for doing that. All right. So Bhagavad Gita chapter 16, The Divine and Demonic Natures. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. With every chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it starts with this phrase, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, Shri Krishna, spoke. Now, Krishna is going to list out a long litany of qualities of a person who is of a divine nature. And divine nature means that a person who is aligned with the divinity within themselves, a person who is truly spiritual. In today's time, we have many people who claim to be spiritual and have no idea what that means, other than believing something. And believing something doesn't make it real. So the idea of doing this program of the Bhagavad Gita and of reading from this very ancient text, which is, one may say, 5,000 years old, but what's the point of it, right? How does it apply to today's time? Well, it sets a standard. It sets some kind of a goalpost, a gold standard for what it is to be spiritual. So I want you to really think about it for yourself. What does spirituality mean for you? I've asked this question to a lot of people. And today I'm going to ask you, what does it mean to you? A lot of people came to me when I asked them the question, they said, oh, well, I'm into crystals, I'm into astrology, I'm into this, that, or the other. And I had to say to them, I'm sorry, that's not spirituality. That's some fun stuff connected to spirituality. It may in some way have some impact on spirituality, but it is not in and of itself spirituality. So I'd love to have your comments in the chat if you'd like to throw in something. Just type in a word or so. What does spirituality mean to you? Love to see what you've got to say. Gabriel says, true self. Very nice. Very well said. True self. Finding your true self. That's a great answer. Discovering and living your true self. Right? Your self, as you know it, is the ego, is this conception you have of yourself. But the true self stays hidden, is behind that. And so to discover that is one of the primary goals of spirituality. Having discovered that, you begin to discover not only who you are, but who everybody else is, and who is the source of creation and everything around you. And you develop a regard and a respect for life in a way you never had before. So Swati says, a way of living. I love it. I love your answers, guys. Yes. Let's see if we can put them up over here. Anyone else? Got them up here now. A way of living. Yes, spirituality is very much a way of living, a way of life, a way of being able to really be. Some people talk of being the best version of yourself, but actually being your true self and living from that place. So these two ideas actually come together at the same time. So here's what Krishna says. Fearlessness he begins with this. Abhayam, fearlessness. Bhaya means fear, and abhaya means fearless. If you think about it, this is the first word he uses, and it's one of the most powerful words. Most of us live in fear, and that's why we struggle to survive. We're afraid we won't be able to pay our bills. We're afraid that the economy might collapse. We're afraid of disease. We're afraid of getting old. We're afraid of dying. We're afraid. And everything is built around fear. What would it be like to be abhaya, fearless? Think about that. What would your life be like if you were fearless? Then the next word he uses is sattva samshuddhi, purification of one's existence. So purifying one's mind, purifying one's body, right? Eating healthy, eating things that are living foods like plants and so on, and not dead animals. Purification of one's mind through mantra, through meditation, purifying the mind. The mind is often filled with all kinds of crazy thoughts, negative thoughts, fearful thoughts. Purifying it means cleansing the mind. And cleansing the mind brings us to a place where our mind is calm, is peaceful. It's like clear water. Otherwise, it's like muddy, dirty, mucky water. Yeah. So the next word he uses is cultivation of spiritual knowledge. Gyan yoga. Yeah, gyan. Gyan means knowledge. Let me read it, have you read it with me. That would be nice. All right. So we're up here where it says gyan. Then yoga. Then, right, spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice. Self-control is very important. Charity is very important. Being able to give of yourself to others. It's not just all about me. In today's time, we live in a culture where it's all about me. What's in it for me? What can I get out of this? Right? So charity is about practicing giving to others, doing for others, serving others. Self-control. Self-control is so important. Control of the mind, control of the senses, control of how we go about speaking, our speech, right? How we deal with others. Self-control. Vital for any human being. If we didn't have self-control, we would be wild and, doing crazy things. But we've learned self-control. That allows us to be able to coexist now in a way that is peaceful and harmonious. Performance of sacrifice, again, being able to give as an offering that which we have, right? So when you invite people over to your home, that's an offering that you make to your friends, to invite them over, to feed them. When you take that one step further and you make an offering to God, here's something I've cooked and I'd like to offer it to you. That's performance of sacrifice. When you offer some incense or you offer anything to God, that is performance of sacrifice. Then he goes on, study of the Vedas, austerity and simplicity. Wow, what a notion. Austerity and simplicity are not concepts that are thought of in today's time. We look at ostentatiousness. We look at how can I have more? How can I, if I don't have it, then how can I act as if I have more? How can I, in some way, be in the upper echelon and buy all the fancy things, the designer stuff, so that I can appear to have wealth? Or if I have it, then how can I flaunt it? Right? The saying goes, if you've got it, flaunt it. But here Krishna is talking of austerity and simplicity. These are spiritual qualities. Austerity, simplicity. Non-violence. Nonviolence is not just not having wars, but nonviolence to other human beings, meaning not even thinking badly of others, not even judging others, definitely not killing other creatures for your pleasure and your satisfaction. Truthfulness. Truthfulness at one level is about speaking the truth, but truthfulness is also about being true to yourself. And true to yourself is not true to your opinions, it is not true to your thoughts, it is true to your real self, to your authentic self, to be really true to yourself. To thine own self be true. And thus it must follow as night the day, thou shalt not be untrue to any man. That was Shakespeare. And what he was saying was, when you're true to yourself, to your heart, to your soul, then you will never be untrue to any other human being. It just doesn't happen. It's not that you force yourself, it just does not happen. Because you are true to yourself, and yourself, your true self, your authentic self, your soul, will not let you go astray. Freedom from anger. Now that's a tough one, isn't it? We all get angry from time to time, but how do you stay free from anger? Anger comes from anarthas. Anarthas are unwanted things. What are unwanted things? Those are what psychologists would call our wounding, our hurt, our stuff that we've stored into our system. When we got upset, when we got hurt, when we felt bad, we stored it. We pushed it down. We avoided the pain. And as a result of which, at unexpected moments, it comes forth in the form of anger. You've heard of the term passive-aggressive. That's one of those ways in which anger just surprises you. The person is being peaceful, apparently, being, patient and so on, nice. And then suddenly, one day, they just explode. That's passive-aggressive. Because they've pushed down the things that bothered them. So the important thing is to be able to bring up those feelings when something bothers you, or some situation triggers you or bothers you. Bring up those feelings, feel them, and allow them to go. They don't need to be stored inside you, because if they're stored inside you, they become disease. And they also result in lack of control over things. I mean, you start having anger and you start having issues for no reason, and you don't even know why. So freedom from anger, renunciation. Renunciation is not necessarily about becoming a monk or being renounced in that way, but renunciation is actually letting go of the attachment to the things of this world. It begins with letting go of attachment to your thoughts, attachment to your emotions, attachment to your body, attachment to your story, and ultimately attachment to all that you have. It's tough, I know. But these are the qualities that we need to aspire for. Aversion to fault-finding. This is huge. I think in a world where fault-finding is the norm, where we think it's perfectly okay to find fault in others, to complain about things, aversion to fault-finding is one of the qualities he's mentioning here of a truly spiritual person. Compassion and freedom from covetousness. Right? Same thing's there in the Bible as well. Same thing is there in Buddhism as well. All of these followed after, thousands of years after Krishna spoke these words. Compassion and freedom from covetousness. Covetousness is wanting to have that which another person has. Right? And this is envy. This also is us wanting, the whole world has actually been designed around that. Look what these people have. Oh, I want to have that as well. They have this particular kind of house or car or whatever, and I want to have that as well. Advertisers take full advantage of this. And we need to be able to be free from this desire, free from this tendency. Then another quality he mentions here, gentleness. in a world that is all about confidence and about trying to make it big and, self-aggrandizement and about narcissism, he points out that the quality to spirituality is gentleness and modesty and steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness. It's so important. These things are so important. Forgiveness of oneself, forgiveness of others, being ready to readily, it's not like it has to be this big ordeal. Oh no, you have to prove yourself and then I will forgive. No, ready to forgive yourself and others, knowing that we are all human, that we all make mistakes, that we all do foolish things, ready to forgive. Because none of us is perfect and none of us has our act together and none of us is going to do things perfectly. So it's very important to live in a spirit of forgiveness. Fortitude, cleanliness. Cleanliness is not just is also of the body, is of what you put into the body, is cleanliness of the mind, cleanliness of your surroundings, of your home. These are very important qualities. Freedom from envy and the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities belong to the godly person endowed with divine nature. It's a long list. If you guys have any questions, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. I'd love to know what you think. Which of these qualities struck a chord for you? Which of these would you like to cultivate in your life? All right, let's try some others. See if you relate to this next list. Arrogance, pride, conceit, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demonic nature. Now, when Krishna refers to demonic nature, he is not referring to the understanding that many people have, let's say, who are more biblically inclined, of some devil with horns and some tail and red skin and stuff like that. No, he's not talking of that. He's talking about two kinds of people: people of divine nature and people of demonic nature. And to help you understand that this is a matter of qualities. You know a thing by its qualities, not just by some fancy imagery created by Hollywood or whoever else created. I don't know who created this. But rather by qualities. And you begin to understand that there is an actual science to this. And you can recognize it just as you recognize that sugar is sweet, fire is hot, water is wet. Everything has qualities. So the qualities of asura. Sura means someone who is an evolved human being, an evolved being in general, human or alien or whatever. But an evolved being is sura, deva. These are the words used. And asura is one who is ungodly, right? Who is does not have spiritual qualities. So it doesn't matter if a person says they're spiritual or not. That doesn't matter. If a person believes or doesn't believe, do they have the qualities? If a person says they are spiritual but does not have spiritual qualities, then it's just a name. Then it's just a title, right? No matter what title they give themselves, it doesn't matter. They might be the head of a big organization. They may be revered by everybody. They might be considered saintly even. But if they don't have the qualities, then they are not sura. They are not divine beings. Similarly, somebody who is, let's say, an atheist and somebody who does not have any knowledge of the self, but happens to live with spiritual qualities, should be known as spiritual. Gold is gold, whether you find it in the muck, or in the trash, or you find it decorated in some beautiful place. Gold is always gold. And one who recognizes gold recognizes it by its qualities, not by its shine, not by its allure, but rather by its inherent quality. Now, I'm not a jeweler, so I'm not going to be able to tell you what those qualities are, but a real jeweler can tell you if something is fake or real. So similarly, here we are getting to recognize different qualities of human beings. This quality is being described now are that of the asura, someone who is of a demonic nature. And there the qualities are arrogance, pride, anger, conceit, harshness, and ignorance. If you look around you today, you will find most people, the majority of human beings, have gradually started moving in this direction. Some are heavily there, some are somewhat there, and some are looking in that direction longingly, because these people are often the very successful ones, so-called successful. They are the ones who seem to have everything. They are the ones who seem to be the movers and shakers of society. They are the ones who everyone looks up to. But check their qualities, and you will find arrogance, pride, anger, conceit, harshness, and an ignorance of spiritual values, spiritual awareness. So why does this matter? After all, they're successful. Why should we care? Why should they care? Right? Why should they care about all this stuff? And Krishna gives a very good reason. The transcendental qualities are conducive to liberation. They are conducive to liberation, mukti, moksha, meaning liberation from the cycle of birth and death, freedom from being born again and again in this world, and being able to come out of the cycle of what Buddhists call samsara, or what is called in Hinduism as moksha, liberation. So the transcendental qualities are conducive to liberation, whereas the demonic qualities make for bondage. Do not worry, O son of Pandu, for you are born with divine qualities. So some people are born with divine qualities. Why is that? In an earlier part of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna actually explains that. He says that whatever spiritual growth you make in your present life, you will carry over into your next. Your spiritual progress is your eternal wealth. That is true success. That is true achievement. That is the true wealth that you will take with you eternally. Whereas the things of this world you will leave behind, those will not go with you. Right? So, therefore, we need to develop our spiritual qualities and not just focus on the things of the world. The things of the world, yes, they're okay. We need them, and we need to be able to enjoy them. And there's no harm in doing that. But not as a goal. Not that that is the goal of your life. The goal of your life is spiritual progress. That needs to be clear. The goal of your life is to collect your spiritual wealth. And what is that spiritual wealth? That is what Krishna describes earlier over here as the divine qualities. So if you haven't got that, you can get a copy of the Bhagavad Gita, and chapter 16, text number 1 to 3, you'll find them listed here. Those qualities that you develop will go with you life after life. And they will be your eternal asset and your greatest wealth. That is why you will find some people are born with these qualities, others are not. Right? Others struggle and sometimes don't even think about such things. So Krishna continues here. By the way, any questions? Anyone want to know anything further? Please feel free to ask. Okay. You can always put your questions in the text if you like, and I'll read them out if you don't feel like coming forth and speaking. But if you would like to come forth and speak, please raise your hand and I'll bring you in and you can ask your question. All right, I'll keep going. Text number 6. O son of Pritha, in this world there are two kinds of created beings. One is called divine, the other demonic. I have already explained to you at length the divine qualities. Now hear from me of the demonic. Those who are demonic do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness, nor proper behavior, nor truth is found in them. So in other words, I think I'll let him explain it and then we'll talk about it further. So do not know what is the pravritim, proper action, and nivritim, which is improper action. Right? These are the words he uses here. Pravritim, proper action. Proper action is that which leads you to a better state of mind, a better state of being, a more peaceful way of living. Pravriti, right? It elevates you. And nivriti degrades you. So improper action, like bad karma if you want to call it that, degrades you. And actions that are done that are pravrit, that is what he's calling pravritim here, they elevate you. Actions that are done from a spiritual place, from a heart space, you could say. Actions that, like the ones he described earlier, compassion, forgiveness, truthfulness, aversion to fault finding, freedom from anger, just to recap some of what he'd said earlier. Self-control, charity, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, fearlessness, and so on. So these qualities elevate you, whereas the demonic qualities degrade you. Degrade you meaning what? Now you become exploitative, now you become controlling, now you become dominating, now you start taking advantage of people. You don't care what happens to them. You don't care what the consequence of your actions are. You're only interested in yourself and what you want and what you need. And this is what is being promoted in today's time and being thought of as a great virtue, and in fact it is not. Then he goes on to talk about the thinking of such people. They say that this world is unreal. This world is asatyam, unreal. That it has no foundation and there is no God in control. Right? We see a lot of people like this. And there are those who claim there is a God, but then they want to be the God of their world, of their country, of their society, of their family. They say this world is unreal, that there is no foundation and there is no God in control. So if there's no God, then you can do whatever the heck you want. Then it doesn't matter. Then no one is accountable. There is no one in control. There is no system in place. So therefore anything goes, right? And that's what we've created. In our advancement of science and technology, which we are so fascinated by, and I'm fascinated by it as well. I think it's wonderful, it's amazing, but only if seen in context to our spiritual growth. If seen outside of that context, then it becomes actually a double-edged sword. We have made great progress in science and technology, but then look at what we've done to the environment and what we've done to the earth and what we've done to ourselves, even in our health and even in our own mental state. Look at where we are as human beings. Not in terms of what we have, we may have great comforts, but in terms of how we are as people, how we relate to each other, how we connect with each other. Think about that. How are we better or not better? Right? We've divided this earth into so many countries. We've divided and separated it from each other with so many religions. We've found so many ways in which to divide ourselves from each other. How is that progress? That has come from the advancement of so-called advancement of humanity. A big part of that was science, where we invented things like cars and factories and production lines and so many things, and resulting in all the pollution and all the waste and all the chaos that we see today. The population of this world, because of all this advancement, grew from 1 billion to 7 billion people and is on its way to 8 and maybe 10 billion by the end of the century. That is not sustainable on this planet. There will not be enough water, not enough food, not enough resources for us to be able to carry on. We have strained the earth in a way that has never been done before, not in known history at least. And we have called this progress. Is it? Yes, we've created wonderful, fascinating things, but is it progress? It is a progress of the external world, not the internal world. It is a progress of the outer and not the inner. And when the inner is sacrificed for the outer, then there will be great loss. That loss will be borne by everyone. And that is the time we live in today. We live in a world where it is unsustainable for humanity to continue more than 100 years or 50 years, or I don't know how we're going to do it, but we shall see where this last few, it's really the last 300-400 years that this has all happened. And I have no idea where we're going. It's pretty crazy. But this is what has come from this idea that the world is unreal, that there is no foundation, that there is no God in control. It is produced of kama, or sexual desire, and has no other cause than lust. In other words, the only reason we exist is, well, just because people have sex and they have babies, and that's why we're here. There is no other reason. So that's the explanation that most of our dear esteemed atheists would like to tell us. Krishna continues, following such conclusions, the demoniac who are lost to themselves and who have no intelligence engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. So 5,000 years ago, Krishna is predicting what is going to happen in some way. It's not directly a prediction, but I mean, in a way, he is noticing the nature of such people. And as the population of such people grows, and as the philosophy of these people is expounded all over the world, you begin to see this is the direction we are headed in. The demoniac who are lost to themselves and who have no intelligence engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. You might say, no, these are very intelligent people. How can you say that? Right? They're very intelligent people who have created all these wonderful technologies and science and so on and so forth. And I know they are. You're absolutely right. But when it is taken out of the context of spirituality, when then it is taken out of the context of God, then what happens is you lose sight, you lose bearing, you lose direction. Nothing is good or bad in and of itself. Neither science is bad, nor technology is bad. A knife is not bad, right? But if you take it and use it to kill someone, then it is bad. But if you use it to cut some fruit, well, nobody will say that that's bad. So it's the same idea, that how you use something, what is your intention behind it? And for the largest part, you can look at it that the person who is an atheist does not want to believe in a God, does not want to even consider the possibility. And therefore, no matter how much you try to tell them, they're not willing to understand or try to look into that. The demoniac taking shelter of insatiable lust, pride, and that is desire. Actually, the word is kama in this case is desire, pride, and false prestige, and being thus illusioned, are always sworn to unclean work, attracted by the impermanent. So this is a very important line. Are you attracted to that which is permanent or that which is impermanent? The Vedas say that that which is eternal is that which is real. That which is eternal is that which is real, and that which is temporary or impermanent is that which is false. Therefore, this entire world is referred to as asat or false. Brahma Satyam, Brahma, that is Brahman or the divine or God, is Satya, is the truth. Jagan Mithya, Jagan meaning the world, is false. So it means that that which is impermanent is that which is false. We are chasing the false. We are chasing the impermanent. And we are wondering why we're unhappy, mentally unhappy, spiritually unfulfilled, not getting what we desire in any way, shape, or form in our lives. So I ask you the question, what is of priority for you? Most people say they want to know what is my purpose? I say your purpose is to find that which is permanent, to find the eternal. And when you have found that which is eternal, you will have found the greatest thing there is to find. You will have found why you came to this world, why you incarnated, why you took birth in this world. Otherwise, everything else is impermanent and is here today, gone tomorrow. You have it for a short while. I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy it, but it's impermanent and it will not last. Your life is impermanent, your youth is impermanent, your health is impermanent, your body is impermanent, the things you own are impermanent, the people you love will not be here forever. Nothing lasts in this world. Nothing. Neither the good things last nor the bad things last. Nothing here is permanent. And because it is impermanent, and because we get attached to the things we have, or the people we love, or the stuff of this world, because that's all we know, then we suffer. It is our attachment to the impermanent that causes suffering. Now, how about flipping that? Become attached to the permanent, to attach to the eternal, attached to the real self and God. That will never cause you disappointment. That will never cause you suffering. And whatever suffering there is of the world will become, to the degree you have become attached to that which is eternal, you will not experience the suffering of that which is temporary and impermanent. Your feedback would be great. Any questions? Any thoughts? Join me in a discussion. Challenge what you're hearing. Think about it. Agree, disagree. All of that is welcome. All right, I guess I'll continue. Text 11 and 12. So he continues describing the demonic nature. They believe that to gratify the senses unto the end of life is the prime necessity of human civilization. What? To gratify the senses unto the end of life. Thus there is no end to their anxiety. Bound by hundreds and thousands of desires, by lust and anger, they secure money by illegal means for sense gratification. You know what? The desire to enjoy our senses is so powerful in us. And I'm not saying it's wrong or it's bad. Of course, we want to enjoy nice things. We want to enjoy good food. We want to enjoy good things. We want to enjoy wonderful experiences. And that's perfectly okay. But if that is the goal of your life, and if you think that that is going to ultimately fulfill you, then you are chasing a mirage. Because no one has ever been able to gratify their senses and be fulfilled. In fact, it will lead to anxiety. In fact, it will lead to depression. And we're seeing so much of that today. The more our desires, and the more we want to have, the more we become anxious, and the more we become fearful, the more we become sad. If you want freedom from all of that, then there is a different way, and we need to learn about that. But at this point, Krishna is showing us where the problem lies. The demonic person says, "So much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future, more and more. This person is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest person surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give charity, and thus I shall rejoice." In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. What is wrong in these statements? Can anyone comment? We are right now chapter 16, text number 13 and 15 of the Bhagavad Gita. So, what is wrong with this thinking? And have you heard this thinking before? Have you heard anyone talk like this? Have you heard any part of this conversation? Let me read it again. "So much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes." Isn't our YouTube and our internet filled with such talk? "So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future, more and more." Egoism, says Swati. Yes, you're right. This is the ego. This is what it looks like. In its full bloom. Arrogance. This is what it looks like. And then if you want to go even further, someone's very powerful, they will think, "This person is my enemy, and my other enemies, they will all be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer of everything. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest person, surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am." As if this was happiness. Thus perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, one becomes too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and falls down into a hellish world. And now hell, as spoken of here by Krishna, is not some place out there where fires are burning and stuff like that, but rather is the hellish state of mind. But you are tormented from within. In my own experience, I came across so many people with this kind of hellish mentality, living in a hellish state within their own mind, thinking that they were, they had everything in life, and yet they were living in a hellish world within their mind. To me, hell is here, and heaven is also here in your mind. And it is up to you. If you tame that mind, you will create heaven in here. If you let it go wild and out of control and get caught up in that egoic mind, then it will be hell. The very same thing will be heaven or hell. That is up to us. I think I'll read the whole rest of this chapter as well. Unless you all have some questions, then I can be happy to take that. please feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions or put something in the text. I'd love to hear that. Interesting. Yeah. Thanks for appreciating that. Both heaven and hell reside in your mind. Thanks for pointing that out. So he continues to talk about the quality of the demoniac mentality. Remember, we're not talking about people with horns and tails and red skin or whatever else, but rather a demoniac mentality versus the divine mentality. So the demonic mentality, he continues about that. Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes perform sacrifices or go to temples and churches or, give charity there in name only, without following any rules or regulations. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demonic person becomes envious of God, who is situated in his own body and in the bodies of others, and blasphemes against those who are truly spiritual, or against the real religion, the real dharma. See, it is a vital quality that if you are a person who believes in God, just believing in God is not enough. I'm sorry to say, it won't cut. There's a saying, love me, love my dog. If you love God, then and you do not love the people and the creation of God, then you do not love God. Right? If you do not treat all people with respect, and it's not just the people of your religion. When Christ says to love God, or the commandments go, and he says these two are the most important, to love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and then he says to love your neighbor as yourself. To love your neighbor is not just your neighbor who's of the same religion. No. It is to love everyone as yourself. The way you love yourself, first you need to love yourself, and most people don't. But as you love yourself, in the same way to love every person. That is how you know someone who is truly spiritual. The demonic person becomes envious of God, and who is situated in his own body and in the bodies of others. Our practice needs to be able to see the divine, to see God within everyone, within ourselves and within everyone, within everything in the creation, within all of nature, within all of life, within every creature. Those who are envious and mischievous are amongst the lowest amongst humanity, and are cast by me into the ocean of material existence, into various demonic species of life. Attaining repeated births among the species of demonic life, such persons can never approach me. Gradually they sink to the most abominable type of existence. So you'll see that such people tend to find others like themselves, and they tend to hang out with that, and gradually they keep on coming back in those kind of families. Sometimes it happens, a person hits rock bottom, and then they may decide to change. But very often they find their own, and then they hang out with them. And their whole aim in life is, how can I be the greatest, the richest, the grandest, the most, how can I be significant and important? It's all egoically driven. And that is the sad thing. The ego is not who you are. The ego is leading you on a wild goose chase for the rest of your life. And the ego has no reality, no basis, no foundation. Krishna continues in text 21. There are 3 gates leading to this hell. Lust as in desire, anger, and greed. Every sane person must give these up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. Desire, anger, and greed. The person who has escaped these three gates of hell performs acts conducive to self-realization and thus gradually attains the supreme destination. But he who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. So one may ask, why are there books like this, like the Bhagavad Gita, like the Bible, like the Quran? Why are they here? Maybe we should disregard them. Maybe we should just make up our own thing. But no, these things were left here for us to be able to find our way back home. They were placed here as milestones, as guideposts to bring us back to God. They were not meant for us to use one against the other and say, my religion is better than your religion, my way is better than your way. No. They were there to inspire us, and we can be inspired by any and all of them. It is not a question of what you believe. It is a question of how you live. That matters. And living does not mean how much you pray to God and how many times you chant His name or how many times you pray or fast. You can't impress God with all of that. It is in your character, in the way you live your life, moment to moment, in your values, in the way you honor other human beings and all creatures. In that you will show what is your true level of spirituality. Not in an external show. Of piety or of charity or of chastity or whatever else people try to do. One should understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. So in other words, there are guidelines, there are rules, there are ways in which to live. And they are there to help us, not to burden us. They are not meant to be taken in a spirit of, oh, you're not doing this and I'm going to judge you for that. No. They're there to guide us and help us, but not for us to now either think, oh, I'm following all the rules and I'm so great, or you're not and you're so terrible. Not like that. So with that, we end chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita. That's the first time I managed to make it through an entire chapter. But yeah, love to know your thoughts. What did you think? What were your views? What did you take away? Tell me something you took away. Tell me something that you got from this reading today. Anybody at all. He says, the ego tries to control us through our life. Interesting. Would you like to explain that? The ego tries to control us through our life. How do you mean? And while he is writing, anyone else want to share something? Anyone want to talk about your takeaway? Did this bother you? Did this offend you? Did this in any way agitate your mind? Or did it inspire you to understand what is the difference between a truly spiritual person and someone who puts on a show of spirituality or religiousness or piety or whatever else? Swati says, clarity on the qualities we should aspire to develop. Very nice. Thank you. Those are wonderful points you all are bringing up. I'm going to share this chat over here so that all of you can read. Clarity on the qualities we should aspire to develop. V says, pride, status, social media, money, power. A lot of us are holding on to these things that don't serve us. And Gabriel says, trying to identify the impermanent and then be aware. Yes. Wonderful points you are bringing up. Pride, status, social media, money, power. A lot of us are holding on to these things that don't serve us. Yeah. So again, keep in mind, it's not about having some absolutist point of view. Nothing is in and of itself good or bad. It is what you do with it that matters. How you use it. Right? You can use it for good and you can use it for your ego. That's the bottom line criteria you've got to look at. Am I using this to be able to prove my worth, my value? Am I trying to impress on others what a great person I am, how awesome I am, how fantastic I am? Then you're right there in your ego. But if you are really looking at it from a place of how can I serve, how can I contribute, how can I make a difference? If you are there from a place of cultivating spiritual knowledge and compassion and really wanting to be there for others from a place of love, then you're on the right track. Gabriel makes a very good point, trying to identify the impermanent and then be aware. So yes, you're absolutely right. Identifying the impermanent is very important. What is impermanent in your life? Identify that. And then, although you need it, and although it's required for your physical existence, remember your eternal existence is as spirit. What is the food your soul needs? You know the food your body needs, the comfort your body needs, the clothes your body needs, the car, the house, the everything that your body needs. Yes, it does. It needs all of that, and we need to take care of that. But what does your soul need? What is your soul food? Right? What awakens your soul? What makes your soul light up? Do you know how to recognize that? See, I'll give you a clear indication. Your soul lights up when there is no reason. It just, you're walking in nature and suddenly you feel this wonderful feeling. The plants are the plants, the sky is the sky, the air is the air, but suddenly you feel light as a feather. You feel like you're drifting. You're happy for no reason at all. You have entered into the realm of your soul. Right? You could be there playing with your kids. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be cooking. You could be having a shower. You could be working at something that you love to do. The point is, those things that come from the soul don't have a reason. They're spontaneous. The things that come from the mind, from the ego, they always have a reason. I want to be able to have this or that or the other because, the other person has it. I want to be able to be as good as they are. I want to have what they have. There's comparison. There's feeling that you're better. There's all kinds of things that we want to prove to ourselves and to others. Those are things from the ego. Those are things from the mind. And those are the things we need to watch out for because they come from the place of impermanence. Those things will never last. So what will last? Things like this. The Bhagavad Gita has been around 5,000 years and is still going strong. Things that have to do with spirit and God and the soul, they will always be eternal because the soul is eternal. God, Krishna says in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, and never will there be a time when we shall cease to be. So that's how you know. That which is eternal is that which is real. That which is temporary is that which is false. False meaning illusory, means here today, gone tomorrow. I guess that's another way to say it. All right, guys, any last thoughts? Any last questions? Anything you'd like to ask me? Guess not. All right. Wish you a blessed and wonderful night. Have a wonderful day tomorrow, and thank you for being here. Thank you so much. With lots of love.
80% de probabilidad que sí le van a dar algo. No sé si completo.
All right. Take care. Bye. We have another meetup coming up in a few minutes, so I'll just gear